It's just another manna Monday. Whoa, whoa. Okay, how about that for a little sounder for you? Welcome to the show this evening, and we're going to be talking about that all-important topic of communication. It's all throughout this chapter here in Proverbs chapter 25. As I said before, I've been studying the book of Proverbs for many decades. Not to say that I've got it down, because I'm telling you, I do not. I learn new things every time that I go through, but you see things appear, thematic themes that begin to appear. And in Proverbs chapter 25, although we see a lot of different examples and scenarios, primarily verbal and nonverbal communication is what it's all about. Communication is one of the big keys to life. And got a video clip for you, and yes, you are going to enjoy it, and here it comes. Oh, 3, 2, fun.
Yellow.
You okay?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Hiding from the wife.
On the roof?
She thinks I'm cleaning the gutters, but I'm telling you, she started in first thing. Gotta go.
A minute. With Daniel Earl. Better to live on a corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. Proverbs 25:24. Our highlight today from the book of Proverbs: those hammering words can be the very thing that drives a wedge between two people whom should otherwise be very united. Could it be something as simple as our communication style that is creating a conflict? Our challenge today: are we moving in unison or in disharmony? Welcome back from the video clip. Yeah, we got us a big topic tonight. Don't worry, I'm not just going to stay on husband and wife stuff. This is about relationship stuff. And no, it's not always the wife. It's not. And it's not always the husband. I think that the only way that we can fairly balance this is to put it into perspective and let both parties take responsibility where they will and where they should. Communication styles. Now, I will tell you this. This is a tough one because after filming this, and I'm just going to confess here, okay? This is just real life. After filming this, and I'm thinking so much about, quarreling, and I think that we've all kind of gotten into those relationships, and it just kind of like puts you in that mood, right? And in thinking about this poor guy up here on this roof trying to pretend like he's cleaning the gutters, right? And I get the thing filmed, and then I had to make 2 important phone calls, one coming in, one going out. And the amazing thing was, you would think that like after doing something like this, you'd be much more conscientious about your community. I found myself like on the defensive in 2 conversations immediately after filming this, because it was just the angst of it sitting on top of you. And I don't know. I think that relationships kind of pick that up, don't they? It's so easy to let a quarrel break out. And once things start that way, it's kind of like, I don't know, for me anyway, it puts you kind of in this mood where you're just kind of like, you kind of begin to expect it, right? The funny thing is, like, you can't see what's going on like that, but I'm like seriously like clenching the stool with my knees, like, because it's the angst of it. And that builds, doesn't it? If you have a confrontation with a person, we have a natural tendency. Some people implode and some people explode, right? Fight or flight. And if you think there's going to be a confrontation, all right, the one of 2 typical responses is either A, I'm going to be the primary aggressor, right? I'm going to tell him, Grant, that's what we're here for. I'm either A, going to be the primary aggressor and go in and get first ground and, stake my flag, because guys, listen, I don't know how anybody else thinks, and nobody does. I mean, you cannot analyze, you can't get inside anybody else's thought life. You can't. You can talk about it, right? But you do not know like the thought patterns of other people. I have seen it happen though, that some people, when they expect a quarrel, they go in and they're like, I'm going to get big ground, and I'm going to get big ground early. So I'm going to go in offended because I think the other person is going to want to start a conflict. And if I'm the primary aggressor, then they have to become the respondent. And all this that begins to set up in our minds. And listen, I just want to put this out there that when we get into those mindsets and when we let that build up, and listen, it happens in families, it happens especially between siblings a lot of times, I know, employer, employee, home life, and it puts you in that place where there's so much pretext, there's so much angst going into the situation that you don't even want to go into it at all. Sure, let's climb up on the roof and pretend to fix the gutters, or let's go out in the garage and work and do that, or let's find some other sideline project that's going to take us out of the situation instead of thinking about where we really want to be. I want to take you over into James chapter 4 in the New Testament, because it's got some very direct and emphatic things to say. And I know many of you who are students of the New Testament, especially, and by the way, the book of James is kind of like the Proverbs of the New Testament. And so we're going to find a lot of this stuff reflected. Similar kinds of conceptual stuff, yet very practical. In James chapter 4, what causes fight? Oh, let me show you. Right there, James chapter 4. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Back to quarrels. Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? Oh, well, hello, James. he just throws it out there, right? And he says, are your quarrels even external? Because anytime we're quarreling and fighting, it feels so external. But then he said, wait a minute, aren't quarrels really coming from your desires at war within you? Let's just sit there for a minute with that one. Have you ever like stopped in a moment? And this is a tough thing because, like I said, we get in these frameworks. Have you ever stopped in a moment and thought, do I really even have a conflict with this person? This is a big challenge. I'm going to slow down here. I'm going to spend some time because I think this could be life-changing for some of you, because it's life-changing for me, and it's something I have to be conscientiously aware of consistently. Do I even have a quarrel with this person? And you're like, well, yeah, it's them because of what they said, or because of what they did, or because of what they didn't do. Let's just put that on pause for a moment. Because in the book of James, and I know he's talking about, he said, don't they come from your desires that battle within you? And if a person has set themselves up, obviously, against my desires, then that's a direct conflict, or maybe they truly are out of line. But at other times, I found that it's a desire that's at war within me, that the other person truly is just a victim of a battle of desires within Daniel. And then I'm going to bring accusation and bring charge and put all of the responsibility for the relationship and for the situation and for my personal feelings. I'm going to project all of that onto them as their responsibility. Maybe you don't do that. Or maybe you don't even philosophize that way. But I think it's worth some consideration. And so what I've had to learn to do in my life is to stop. Anytime that I feel like the tensions are rising, stop. First off, is this person really the problem? That's question number one, because I can get out of line on that, and I have to be self-aware. So stop. Is this person even really the problem? Answer yes, answer no. Maybe sometimes the best thing to do is to break it off. Book of Proverbs is going to say a lot about don't even let quarrels start. When you start a quarrel, the book of Proverbs says it's like releasing water from a dam, right? It's like a crack in the dam. So plug it up before it breaks the whole thing, right? That's one mental picture you can get. Okay, you don't know where a quarrel is going to go when you release it. So you have to be very careful about what you feed into it. So even if I stop and say, is the person that I'm confronting, are they the problem? Even if the answer to that is yes, there has to be a follow-up question in which you ask yourself, so what is the best way for me to engage this situation to create a desired result, or to communicate clearly what my expectations are? Because we may have a tendency to just want to dump a guilt burden on another person, or we may have a tendency to want to project negative feelings or emotions upon another person that would actually shut them down, harm them, or exacerbate the quarrel instead of actually correcting the problem. I know we've gone in deep, and I hope that some of this, and maybe you have some comments. I mean, I've said a lot, and so there, there's probably some comments that could clearly come up from this line of conversation. And yeah, we could spend an entire series just talking about communication and how we process communication. But here's the thing: am I driving a wedge between me and another person? Am I creating more of a wedge? Or am I bridging the gaps between me and another person? And that's really what it comes down to. Listen, nobody is happy on either side when you have a quarrel that breaks out. Okay? And sometimes you can be like, well, they've made me less happy than I've made them. Listen, the tit for tat thing just it's irrelevant. And yet in my mind, I don't know how you think, in my mind it becomes so big, right? But it doesn't matter. What matters is, can I clearly communicate either to myself or to the other party what the problem is and how it should be corrected? And the truth is, if you get in the middle of a quarrel and you realize, you know what, this isn't even on them, this one belongs to me, the best thing you can do, let me give you this advice, and I double dog dare you, challenge you to try this out. Stop right there and say, listen, I just realized, I just came to a self-realization moment that this isn't even about you. It's a desire, like James chapter 4 said, it is a desire waging war inside of myself. I'm sorry I've projected this on you. We'll come back to it when I'm more clear-minded. If you don't mind, is that okay? Can we do that? You may be surprised at how that sets a person like, wait a minute, where did this come from? Well, maybe it came from the Word of God. Maybe we have to examine. Right? The world, the flesh, and the devil will create chaos if you allow it. The devil came to steal, kill, and destroy, and he will get in the middle and cause all this havoc, and I mean just an inch of flesh, and it'll go a mile, okay? So, maybe you realize that you're in a quarrelsome environment, that you've kind of established a culture, a quarrelsome culture in a relationship between you and someone else, and you need to change that. Pray about it and apply this wisdom. Maybe you realize that there's a quarrel that is broken out, and even in some of what I was saying, you start thinking to yourself, you know what? I've been wrong towards somebody else, and I have projected my own inner turmoil onto someone else. Maybe you need to fix that. I don't know. Just throwing out some ideas. Listen, love you. I hope some of this is helpful to you. Maybe I am just so messed up that some of the stuff I'm sharing that has helped me out in life, and you're like, wow, that dude is so messed up. Nobody works that way except him. Well, maybe. But I got a feeling like it's a human issue. I got a feeling like maybe some of the rest of you are struggling with these things, and you may find it useful and beneficial. Thank you for being with me tonight for Man Alive. Thank you, Grant, for the encouragement. And I hope I did. I hope I told this guy and you guys just got to listen in. So Lord bless you tonight. Hope to join you tomorrow. Remember, be good, have fun, do it in that order. That's right.